Well, thank you.
Bring us up to speed that we really don't have.
I'm happy to say that so far we've not had the flooding in Terrebonne that was anticipated.
Right.
Please understand, everybody remembers the 1973 floods. The projected crest right now is still a half a foot higher in Morgan City than it was in 1973. The initial crest that was presented by the Corps of Engineers when they were going to open up 50% of the Morganza structure was actually going to be almost 2.5 feet higher than the crest that was in 1973 in Morgan City, which would have translated to substantial water in Terrebonne Parish. What's been really our savior here has been three things. One is the gorge that's been sunk in Bayou Chene. That has made all the difference in the black water that would go into backport of Morgan City and Lake Pelor, around Grassy Lake, and sheet flows back into our area, into the northern part of Terrebonne Parish, right around the Donner, Gibson, Deadwood area. And the other way that we flood is through Gibson, around where the Gorge Gate is. And finally, the other way we would flood would be from the Intracoastal coming across, the back and coming up to Highway 182, which is Bayou Black. If you look at the center of the port, around the Humphreys levees, around all the people who live on the blacktop side of Bayou Black, or in the Chacahula area, what happens, water would get into that basin. So the initial thought process from the parish was to try to prevent it from coming into that basin. And in doing so, that's the reason that we constructed, well, actually I have the figures, 10.4 miles of new levees that we actually constructed, 8.2 miles of renourished levees, which are enhanced levees that they may have had like a farmer's levee before, and now we've actually brought it up to an elevation of 6 feet or 5 feet.
You said bring it up, what you brought it up with?
We used excavators, we had dump trucks that were going out there, we had track trucks that were hauling the dirt, and we had a substantial amount of activity there. We probably had close to 15 to 20 trucks that were hauling dirt all the time. Now, in addition to that, we had a whole bunch of contractors that worked together really closely in order to make absolutely certain that our people were protected. We moved faster on this than I think we've ever done before. I mean, all these guys worked together. Boudreaux contractors, Byron Talbot, Civil Construction. We had Dolphin Services, Dupre Brothers, GMW, LA Contracting, LLNG, Lowland, PCM, and Philway. All of them worked very closely together, and we gave them segments to work on, and each and every one of them did a great job. We also put tubes. You probably saw behind Gibson School, not Gibson, but Bayou Black School, Greenwood Elementary, and in addition, all around the rear portion of the Humphreys houses along the blacktop side of Bayou Black. And that was installed by the Louisiana National Board, who were so pleased with that. I'm certain you've seen them out there. It was an amazing feat, 2.5 miles of tubes. There are pictures from the air, and it just goes for miles. And then we also installed 560 linear feet of sheet power along Highway 20. And that was a major feat, and it closed off the arteries in that area. What we did before, Jerome, was we had asked Lafourche, who has the Latrim pump station right by the Terrebonne-Lafourche drainage canal, to pump water as soon as we heard about the event so that we would get their water in advance. And now, if there's any rains, hopefully they're going to be pumping water on us at this particular time. Now, of course,
so that's the purpose of pumping the water now, then wait until you get a rain and start pumping it on.
Yep, that's exactly what we did. We asked them right when we heard almost 2 weeks ago to do that, and they pumped it in before we closed our system, so the water was able to run through. And then that way, if they have a rain, they have some freeboard that they can go ahead and utilize before the pump can come in. Now, I will say this, that barge that has been put in Bayou Chene has been a tremendous salvation to us. it's made a difference of around 33, 34 inches from the front to the back. That's a lot. And you have to understand, the effect would be a cumulative effect. It wouldn't be just an effect where all of a sudden something happened. I mean, we would be having water that would have been coming in for now over a week, and that water would have been coming into our area and staying, and as additional waters are coming, it make a big difference. I spoke to Colonel Fleming yesterday. In fact, he called me. He said 2 or 3 things. One, the crest is not supposed to hit the Morgan City area until approximately May 30th. On our area, because of the way we get the backwater flooding, it would actually come in a little bit later than that, if in fact, that we do get flooding and something should happen to that gorge. In addition to that, he said it's going to be potentially up to 5 to 10 days while it's going to be up there. I do want to just point out, the Colonel, I asked him 2 questions. I said, Colonel, the barge has been working. He says, but Michel, you have to remain vigilant, because we all know that at one time the force of the river knocked out the sheet pile in the middle of the barge, and they had to actually use some rocks and everything else to go ahead and stabilize it. But if it ends up where they have a problem with the barge and something would happen, it would be like 33, 34 inches of water that would just start floating into our area. And so that's why we have to remain vigilant. I also asked the Colonel, I said, Colonel, how long is that barge going to remain there? And he said, I'm not in any, I'm not in any hurry to remove that barge. And so that would be something that they have. Now, Jerome, another thing, we've distributed over 300,000 sandbags at this time. And if you've seen...
That's a lot of sandbags.
And I want to just indicate it. Everybody was good. They had people from other parts of the parish helping in the sandbagging operation. They had churches helping elderly people. I was really pleased about that. We had the trustees from Sheriff Bourgeois that actually were working at Devon Keller along with our public works people to sandbag, and they had lines of trucks were waiting in line at Devon Keller. And actually, as the panic kind of got into swing of things, Vernon also sent trustees at some of the other stations to actually fill them out without the sandbag machines, just to help the residents. And so there were a lot of people there. We had 6 sandbag locations. Of course, we closed the barge gate at Bayou in Gibson. I would like to thank the Levee District. They actually constructed 1 mile of the 10.6 miles of new levees that we constructed, and we're most appreciative for that. They also procured and installed the pumps that are actually, we have the pumps now at the Hanson Canal, we have them at Elliott Jones Canal, we have it at the Gibson Barge Gate, and we also have it at the water control structure that's with the water district right by the Bayou Gym on Bayou. So they have 4 pumps in that area.
Yeah, so at this time we don't have any water in any home.
I'm going to knock on wood. There is no water in any homes in Terrebonne, to my knowledge, and right now another thing that's helped us, and it's really been hard on farmers and it's hard on people with their gardens, but the drought has truly helped. In fact, what would have happened, that water from Morganza would have rushed in much quicker, but the Colonel and all the meteorologists and all the experts have indicated that it was so dry that the water got into the basin and started sucking it up, and it didn't come the way they expected it to come. So, we've been hit by BP, we've been hit by Gustav Pike, and on this one though, I think, God was feeling good for us, and he says, look, we're going to give you 2 good breaks on this.
So how many people need to be vigilant?
I think it's going to be potentially for the next, since the crest was supposed to be in Morgan City on the 30th, it'd be with us just a little later. If in fact it was going to happen, then probably at least 10 or 15 days after that. So I think you're talking about a period, 2 or 3 more weeks that they need to be vigilant.
Yeah. So I guess we need to pray that things continue going like they're going now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to.
And I think it's good, and
Well, we wanted to make certain we protect our residents. And Jerome, I want to mention something, and this has not come out, and I was going to say it a number of times, but Commissioner Donlin he's the Commissioner of Insurance. He said that if you have flood coverage on your house, and you're in the Gibson area, in the area on the western part of our parish, that your flood insurance may, it doesn't say shall, it says may, reimburse residents up to $1,000 for preventive measures taken such as sandbags, supplies, and labor for property removed to safety. Insured property must be stored in a fully enclosed building and is covered for 45 consecutive days. So anyway, if you do have some expenses that you can prove, you do have flood insurance, then you should be able to but you should be able to submit it to your flood insurance, but you have to have receipts and be able to explain it to them at this time. And so I just wanted people to know that at that time. Now, also, we got a report of a scam around in the Gibson area. I don't know
what type of scam, Brown? This is a scam.
Well, Terrebonne Parish has been alerted that private work crews have been traveling the Gibson area attempting to persuade elderly residents to pay them to provide sandbags for their homes. Those crews are stating that the residents who do not sandbag their homes will not be eligible for any form of assistance, disaster assistance, or anything else. These claims are false. Residents are reminded that if you hear that, you contact the sheriff's office, and they will certainly take a very harsh look upon anybody trying to take advantage of the elderly.
I'm glad you brought that up and inform our listeners on that, because I mean it doesn't make sense where people use situations like this to scam anyone. And I think it's sad when people going around in the community that stuff like that.
I agree.
Especially to our elderly and anyone else.
And we actually got reports that a couple of people actually paid that, and we're sorry for that, and that should not have been the case.
And it probably won't be a bad idea for people to get the description of the person, the license plate number, color of the vehicle, and all of this information will be helpful to the police once the police come in and investigate these situations.
No question about that. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah. So, any other plans that you have?
Plans for this? Well, let me mention, we certainly were planning for the worst and praying for the best, and it looks like we're praying and our prayers are being answered, but we had already arranged for shelters if in fact we needed them. The Red Cross had come in, we had activated our unified command so that we had all the necessary people in place, and truly it's just a matter of being vigilant. I've gone up and down the bayous in that area, and there's sandbags up in many places as much as 5 and 6 feet. If you go down to LA 20, one gentleman constructed a complete levee around his house. He got an excavator and he put a levee around his house. And those are ones who are truly going out of their way to make certain that they would be protected. And if it becomes a non-event, well then, it's just something that was done, and they have plenty of knowledge as to maybe what needs to be done in the future.
What you experienced any costs for the people on the bayou when it came to this flooding?
And Jerome,
water getting the people home.
One thing that we did, we didn't even wait for the declaration to come. Once we found out, we started working immediately because we knew that it didn't make any difference. We had to do something to protect our people.
Yeah, I think you did a good job doing that.
Well, thank you.
And I know it was a lot of hard work. And that's part of your responsibility to make sure the people that come in any area, you would have done the same thing for them.
Most definitely.
Yeah. So, like you said, we won't be out of the woods until probably next month, early next month sometime, you think?
I think that what we have been told...
The press would come in, May the 30th, approximate time.
Right, and then
Market City.
I think that if there's going to be any time that we can start breathing easier, it'll be after June 15th.
June 15th, okay.
I think that would be when we can start breathing a little easier, and we can really start breathing easier when they remove the barge in Bayou Shane. because then we know there'll be no threat. Now, just understand, with that barge holding out 33 to 34 inches, that's almost 3 feet of water. All that water, and I'm talking about tons of water, would be coming in, every second into Terrebonne Parish. And that has really made a tremendous difference to us, and we're most thankful for the St. Mary Levy District and Bill Hidalgo for taking the lead on that project, and that we really appreciate it.
Yeah. And on that note, we'll be right back after this commercial break.